Where does the responsibility lie? With the individual soldier, with his immediate ranking officer, or with the general policies of the IDF?
The conversation I read at the end showed that they acted based on direct orders from their commander. I don't know who's the commander, what level of command, but there were direct orders. And just I want to emphasize, this was not a single case. The story of my family was not unique. It's reflected in so many times, in so many occasions, with so many families that have been targeted, that have been attacked. Whether it's attacks with white phosphorus on United Nations schools that have been clearly marked, whether it is attacks and shooting and targeting of people who were raising white flags.
As someone who comes from Israel, and also in the context of what Gaza has asked, we're talking about the responsibility of an entire society for what's going on. This is not just the responsibility of a particular soldier, and it's not just the responsibility of a particular commander. We're talking about a very systematic phenomenon that is supported by a society, that it's a small and cohesive society, and many, many people in the society have a responsibility for what's going on there. And the process in order to resolve these tragic things is going to be a long and complicated process.
On March 19, 2003, Richard Boucher said, "When we have the death of an American citizen, we want to see it fully investigated. That is one of our key responsibilities overseas, is to look after the welfare of American citizens and to find out what happened in situations like these." Yet though the Department of State's position is that the Israeli investigation has been inadequate, officials at both state and justice have told our family that the U.S. government could not conduct an investigation nor force the Israeli government to do so. On March 14, 2008, Michelle Bernier-Toth from Overseas Citizen Services wrote to us, "We have consistently requested that the government of Israel conduct a full and transparent investigation into Rachel's death. Our requests have gone unanswered or ignored. We will continue to raise this issue with the government of Israel, but unfortunately at this point we are not optimistic that the Israeli government intends to do anything further on Rachel's case."
Yeah, I was just going to ask Cindy Corrie if she would reflect on how her thinking about the American political system and American society has changed from before this tragic incident up to the present.
I think it's a little bit like I feel about our medical system. You know, it all sounds like it's really great until you really need to utilize it, and then you find out what some of the problems are. But I think there was a lot that we had to learn, that our family had to learn. You may remember that in 2003, our Congressman Brian Baird, whom I might say, he gives me faith in our system because he started out being very helpful to our family, but every sentence that he stated in those first days or in those first weeks, he started with, "I'm a supporter of Israel, but." And I finally got tired of hearing it and said to him, "Can't you just be a supporter of people?" But he took 3 trips to Gaza in the past year. So I feel in that I find a great deal of hope, and I think overall I find, you know, as in any institution, I find many people that we engage with in the Congress, in the State Department, and in other places, you know, people that I think care very deeply, and I have a lot of respect for them. But there are great obstacles. When Congressman Baird introduced HCR 111, he didn't tell us that because of the climate in the U.S. Congress, that he expected we would only get 30 signatures onto that resolution. All it called for was an American-led investigation into Rachel's case, apologies to our family, and for Israel and the United States to make sure nothing like this ever happened again. Now, we proved the congressman wrong with the help of people across the United States who lobbied for that resolution. There were 78 co-sponsors, but it died in committee because the chair, of course, Ileana Ros-Lehtinen of Florida, was not ever going to bring it out, nor was Henry Hyde of the HERC committee, and President Bush didn't send a message over saying get that message out of committee either. So it's a very mixed experience that I've had, but I appreciate a lot of people who have offered support to our family.
In spite of many facts to the contrary, the perception in the US is still that Israel is surrounded by enemies, and whenever there is a rocket attack, that is seen as an example of that and why we must help them maintain a qualitative military edge.
I guess the answer is education. We need to educate the public. We need to go to faith-based communities, to churches, to synagogues, to temples, to mosques, to tell people about real stories of real people, to tell people about the suffering of people in Palestine and in Israel, and let them be the judge for themselves. Go to campus universities, go to our local newspaper, to speak to our neighbors. Step one is to educate people, and then step two is to work together, start lobbying together, to pressure our government, to pressure our representatives to change the situation.
Things on the ground are probably more dire than they've ever been. And it's very important for us all to know that we have international support. And in particular, unfortunately, we're in a situation where the governments are not doing the right thing. And they're not going to do the right thing unless they're pushed by the people. We saw this in the anti-apartheid struggle in South Africa. We've seen this in many other struggles, and it's true here as well.
And you can see the huge difference between the Palestinian position and the Israeli position, and it's clear it will not be solved within 8 months or 18 years unless we have one term of reference, and I think the term of reference should be the international law and the UN system.
It's very important that we couch our struggle in human rights, because human rights are inclusive, human rights are win-win, and everybody's got human rights. I can't privilege myself over others.
There's a lot of energy right now. I've been in this country since 1982, and for many, many long years, it's been a hard and sometimes lonely row to hoe, to be out there in the media arguing for a policy of simple humanity that treats all human persons as worthy of dignity and respect equally. These are fundamental American values. I've been an American citizen since 1988, and I'm proud to be a citizen of a country that has such wonderful founding documents. But the founding documents are only ever as good as the generation that fights for their implementation, and right now that is us. So I urge you to go out and do what you can to organize on this issue that is very important, not only to American values, but also to American interests and the interests of our servicemen and women who are fighting around the world in very dangerous places.